Hello folks, it's Mark Puncher, CEO of Employer Branding Australia. We have been doing a series of events across Australia called Employer Branding Live 2024, and we've brought together some great people and they've had some really great questions. We've answered some on the day, but we ran out of time every time, so I wanted to recap with you and give you some thoughts. So we're going to produce a series of videos that give those answers and that encourage you to contribute to the debate. So the first video I want to do is to cover three questions. I want to talk about segmentation of your audience when you're talking about EVP or recruitment marketing messaging or potentially even internal comms. I also want to bring that into Gen Z, and finally I'm going to talk about values. So the first question that I was asked was, our marketing team have spoken to us about the importance of market orientation and segmentation to target the message to different people. What are my thoughts? Obviously, you have to start anything you're doing around EVP, employer branding, recruitment marketing, internal comms with audience. Who are you speaking to? What do they care about? What matters to them? What is their agenda? What are their hesitations? What is the filter they're seeing you through? And how do you therefore respond to that? How do you add value to that audience? How do you speak to them in a way which resonates with them and with things that resonate with them? So, one of the key points I'd make, I'm often asked about EVP. Should you have different EVPs for different teams or areas of the business? My strong view, based on everything I've seen over the years, is no. You should have a core EVP framework and device or concept that really captures the essence of your talent offer and employee experience, whether it's for somebody on reception, somebody who's planning, somebody who's doing strategy, somebody who is in a warehouse, somebody who's in the office. But you really need to ensure that that framework and that device cascades and moves to be relevant and meaningful to each role family in your organization, to every location and to every part of the business. It's crazy, when I started the business, I didn't think that would always be feasible. I always thought, well, there'll be somewhere we'll find that's just not possible. So far, having done hundreds of EVPs, I've consistently seen that it works. What matters most is not finding new words and new messaging. First of all, it's understanding how does our talent offer and employee experience differ across different audience segments, and then building something on top of that. So that's really important. Somebody asked the question about Gen Z or Gen Alpha. What are your top tips for setting these workers up for success in today's workforce, and what's different about them from an EB perspective? Look, this really merits its own discussion and video, and maybe we'll do one when we can. But for now, I'd say, I hear a lot about Gen Alpha and the new coming through and what matters to them. I think two things. One, I think they're not as different as you might think. And number two, if anything, I'm seeing elements of what we'd consider more old-fashioned values and preferences and priorities coming through. If you think right now, if you think about somebody leaving university or college right now, potentially leaving school, they're in a different world. They are mistrustful of the world. They don't expect to own their own home within even 10 years. They know they are in debt or they're going to be in debt. They're in a market and economy that is uncertain and hard, and many of them, as I said at the events we ran, are in personal recessions right now with the economic climate that we're experiencing. What I'm seeing that do is return people to those more old-fashioned preferences around security, stability. They might not express it in the same way, and it might not matter to them in the same way. Lots of them are not planning to be married and have kids in the next year or two necessarily, but those things really do matter. So if you're going out and putting your messaging out to younger people and speaking about ping pong and just flexibility, and you'll get loads of promotions, I think you're missing a trick, missing an opportunity. Like with all humans, start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What are the base level needs people have to feel safe and secure and that they belong, and then build on that with everything else. So don't just try and be hip and down with the kids. Those kids are very serious and they need support. I would say that with that generation though, there is a bit of education to do, a bit of inspiration to do about the journey. So not just saying, yep, you'll get promoted. It's saying, well, what's the path to that? How can you come in here and in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, start to build a career and a connection that will actually deliver great outcomes for you and also for our business and for the people around you. So do focus on the journey and talk them through that. The last question I'll cover in this video, and this is from Sydney's event, they said, in tailoring your EVP to appeal to different audiences, should organisations also tailor their values to the different audiences they're targeting? Two parts to this. One is, how do you talk about values when it comes to recruitment, for example? Another one is, again, should those values be tailored? The quick answer is, you should include the values, but if you're going to include them, do it in a meaningful, specific way. Just saying we're a values-led organisation means, or values-driven organisation means very, very little. Talk about what those values are and why they matter. I personally like to see a little bit of reference early on, but actually it expands out and goes into more detail and depth as the candidate moves through the process. Consistently, values really matter when somebody is taking a real interest with you and genuinely exploring the opportunity. But I wouldn't be taking up huge amounts of real estate in initial attraction with values. The second part is, should they change according to the audiences? Absolutely not, in my opinion. A bit like an EVP, you should have that core framework. What I'd love to see, especially if you have very different roles, different audiences in your organisation, I'd love to see you having those core values and then separating out what they mean in each area. So if you're going to talk about posters on a wall, which I'm always going on about how values can't just be a poster on the wall, but let's say they're there and you're presenting them. Well, why not have two? Have your values as they are, and then right next to that, have a poster or have a sign that says, here's what that means in this warehouse, here's what that means in this clinic, here's what that means in this store, so that you're actually speaking in real terms to the realities that they're facing and the things they're trying to achieve every day. So I hope that helps add some value to you. If not, let me know and I'll try something else. If you want to comment below, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.